We get to have a conversation this morning and for the next 6 weeks about your soul and the state of your soul and how important your soul is to your well-being, to your life, to enjoying your life, and to your relationship with your God. It might be that you arrive here this morning and your soul is feeling vibrant and full and alive. It might be that it feels like it's in a season of drought. It might be that it feels like it has been battered by storms. And it might be feeling like it's going to be covered in snow, which is what we'll all feel like here in a couple of weeks. Winter's coming. But when we talk about the soul, that's going to be the most exciting part of this message. Tune out right there. When we talk about the soul, it's very easy for us to get lost and bogged down in the mire of what the soul is and where it comes from and all these other things that could possibly be important as we understand the soul, because everyone talks about the soul. This is not a new conversation. You can go back in some of the greatest, most profound philosophical debates, the works of Aristotle, Socrates, Plato. You'll find them talking about this thing called the soul. If you are involved in any religion, any major religion in the world, you'll find that it's all built around what your soul is, where it comes from, where it's going. It doesn't matter if that's Hinduism, Islam, Catholicism, Judaism, or Scientology. They're all talking about the soul. 2 fun facts. The word that we use, soul, today, the English word, is actually first used or first penned or can only be found as far back as the 8th century, written in the poem Beowulf. Another fun fact, your soul weighs apparently 21 grams. I know this because a man called Duncan McDougall, which is how you say his name, did a study in 1901 of people as they were transitioning from life to death, and he found that everyone lost 21 grams when they died. So he assumed your soul weighs 21 grams. You're welcome. Maybe not the best thing to get rid of if you're trying to lose weight. But you talk about your soul too. Sometimes you talk about it in reference to your health or finding some inner source of strength. There's also that term out there that apparently you could sell your soul if you're in need of anything in a dire situation, and there's a devil out there that'd be willing to take it. But as we talk about the soul, we need to understand what is actually true, because there's no shortage of conversation about it. So what is true? Well, numbers hold that about 70% of people around the world believe in a soul, that there is one, that it's there. So what about you? Do you believe in a soul? Do you believe that a soul exists, and do you know why? Or more importantly, I guess, do you believe that you have a soul, and do you know why? Today, what we hope to do is start an ongoing conversation about that. We want to serve you as your church to give you the opportunity to think on, to care for, to know, and to value your soul. We want to ask this question, how is your soul? We want to ask it over and over again, and we want to get ourselves to the place where we can honestly say it is well. That we can honestly, boldly say it is well in confidence, knowing what it is and how to care for it. When it comes to the soul, Jesus made a very important statement about it in Matthew 16:26. A very short conversation he was having with some people. He said this: "What do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? Is anything worth more than your soul?" Jesus gives this very quick, short definition, and if we were to take it as Jesus said these very words, then I think it implies that it's important. And for any of us that want to have a relationship with our God, any of us who want to love God or love people maybe, the soul becomes of paramount importance to how we can do that. It is the thing that Jesus said should be most valued in your life, in your possession, the thing that you can take hold of that is most valuable to you. And unless I'm missing something, I don't think we do that. Unless I'm missing, and I miss a lot, but unless I'm missing this, we don't value our soul above everything else. We simply don't. We value a lot of things. We're good at valuing things, like we value our bodies, some obviously more than others, and we tend to value our mind, and we want to grow that and develop that. We value our emotions, our heart. We protect that, we guard that. But if we were to honestly ask ourselves, is there anything worth more to you than your soul? I think a lot of us would have to answer, yeah. It's quite a lot of things. A lot of that comes out of maybe confusion of what the soul is. A lot of it comes out of distraction of other things that are just more tangibly in front of us. But Jesus said it's the most important part of you, that your soul should be the thing that you value the most. And if we are not, then we could potentially be setting ourselves up for a lesser life. We could be having things happen to us that we don't understand because of the state of our soul, and missing out on a great deal because we don't know how the soul interacts with the rest of who we are. Jesus actually already gave maybe a threat, maybe a warning, a what if we choose not to value our soul. When he talked about it in verse 26, he said, what do you benefit if you gain everything, the whole world, but you lose your soul? There's this tied-in implication that you could lose it. You could lose your soul, that it is losable to you, taken from you. And that's usually how we read it. But when Jesus said it, the word that he used to define this loss of the soul was the Greek word isemio. And this word specifically didn't so much mean as, oh, I accidentally lost it and I can't find it anymore. It's more of a choice that you make to forfeit it, to trade it away, to hand it over, to neglect it and neglect its value. And it's not this one-time event that I lost my soul, I'm never going to get it back. It's a constant decision that my soul is not as valuable as other things, therefore it is easily taken from me. Now, I did not desire to get up here this morning and basically say, you're all really bad at taking care of your soul and you should be ashamed of yourself. What I intend to do is, and what we want to do in this series, is to be able to say, well, if there is a soul, and Jesus seems to deem it very important, and we don't, maybe we are missing out. Maybe we're missing out on something profound. Maybe knowing the value of our soul would help us understand the value of ourselves. It would help us to value ourselves, would help us to value our God, would help us to value the lives of other people too. So if we're going to do that, if we're going to do this thing where we're going to improve the state of your soul, we have to start valuing the soul. And to start valuing the soul, we have to start with the start value. God has a proposition for you that he would like you to hear, and he would like you to entertain. He would like you to believe it if you can, about where your soul comes from, why it was given to you, and what exactly it is. In Genesis 2, verse 7, when it's all kicking off, God seemed to have this recorded for a good reason. It said, the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. There's a moment in history when the first soul was given to the first human being that God had written down in history that we would then be able to understand some things about this soul that we have. The first is that it's all of you. With no soul, there is no life, there is no animation, there is no personality, there is no identity. And what's crucial to understand is that your soul that is given to you is a piece of God given to you to become a piece of you, shared with you, and therefore that's how God would describe it, as the most special gift, how Jesus would call it the most important thing in all possession of the world. Now, if any of that is true, any of it, doesn't matter how you think mankind was formed, doesn't think if you even believe in the Bible, if you believe you have a soul and that was maybe a creator of it, then that shifts for us our mentality to what this otherwise enigmatic and hazy, ethereal idea of the soul is, and really seeks to concrete it in the fact that your soul is your life. Her soul is her life. His soul is his life. And when we put it in that context, when we try and open that up, maybe we do value life. Maybe we do value the soul. We've just been valuing it differently and under different terminology, because I think we do value life. If I had to go out on a limb, I'm going to say you value life to some degree. And there are certain things that can happen in your life, certain moments that can define that for you. Maybe it's someone sharing their life with you, having good friendship, having good relationship. I think one of the moments for me of understanding the value that I place on life is when I was able to witness the birth of a child. And if you're able to witness the birth of a child, don't go. Obviously, one of you has to go. The other one, make excuses. But when it happens and something like this pops out, right? You see? I didn't even have to prompt that one. Something happens to a human being when they see the birth of a child. You don't have to like babies, but the birth of a child is something unique. It's something special, and it tends to break a person into pieces. And then water streams out of their eyes uncontrollably, and they act like a bit of a fool. And what's the craziest thing is we fall in love with this new sign of life very easy, very quickly, and it doesn't even come out like that. It comes out like this. It's all red and gooey and gross looking, and you think, why on earth would we value that life so much, the life of that child? Yet we do. And we want to give everything for it, and we want to do whatever we can for it when it's that newest, most untouched, unseen, brand new, spanking source of life. Some of us value life in different ways. We value our lives. We value the life of our friends and our family. We want to protect it, keep it safe, and ensure it from being lost. Some of us love our own life so much that we would love to prolong our lives as much as humanly possible. And therefore, there isn't a business. There are billions and billions of dollar businesses built on all the goos and potions that you can purchase to lengthen your life. And you can do activities and you can do exercises. And some people are so intent on extending their lives, they'll even eat things like kale. It gets ridiculous. Some of us, we start to understand our value of life when it's lost. When we experience the loss of a life, that's when we start to understand the value we place on life. When we hear of life that is lost unjustly, we tend to revolt against that. We tend to hate it. We protest it. We demand that it must stop. Because somewhere deep within us, there is this belief, like it's an inalienable right, that life deserves life. It deserves to be able to live. So maybe we do value life. Maybe we do value the soul, but we've just been talking about it differently up until now. Maybe we've just been talking about it generically as the life of people, the life of human beings, and missing what makes that life so valuable. Because what makes life valuable is not what that person is or does or says or believes. It is that they have something within them that is intrinsically valuable. That life in its most important level of worth is the person's soul. And if we can make that shift of talking about loving life and valuing life to loving and caring for the soul, then we can think on it more, we can care for it more, we can value it more. But if we never do, then we will never make the connection and we will never value it the way that we are supposed to as our most important possession. And we will wander in willingly to the thing that Jesus so vehemently warned us against, choosing to give it up, choosing to forfeit it, choosing to hand it over. Now, I'll do something here in a second that I want to try and help us understand how we value our own souls, how we value our life, and maybe how there's a disconnect between the value Jesus calls it to and what we truly, genuinely believe. Let me ask you a question. How is your soul? How is it? Let me ask it a different way. How valuable are you? How valuable, how much are you worth? If you had to give yourself a number from 0 to 10, how much would you put it at? Pick a number. Pick a number that you would say, this is how much I'm worth out of 10. Now, I want to ask for a moment of vulnerability for those who dare. I want you to put your hands up in the air. Doesn't matter what number you got. Put your hands up in the air, throw it up there, and more of you can do this. Thank you. Be vulnerable. That always helps. And you can put your hand down when I say the number that is above yours. When I go past the number that you gave yourself, you can throw your hand down. So, anyone worth less than 0? Good start, good start. Less than 1, less than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. Most of you can put your hands down. That's heartbreaking to see. It should be heartbreaking for us to watch and for us to even admit that we're not 10s, that we don't hold the value that someone has already said you have. Now, I get it because you all gave yourselves numbers based on your circumstance and who you are and what you've been through. Like, yeah, maybe when I was born and I popped out, maybe I was a 10. Maybe I was a really good baby and my soul was worth 10 and my life was worth 10. But this soul has been driven off the lot. And it has depreciated in value somewhat. It has dents on it and it has dirt. Hey, it's got some deeply ingrained dirt. Maybe it's got some stains. Maybe it's got mileage on it. Maybe it's got major damage. And you're thinking to yourself, I'll look at this and I don't see where you're thinking 10. I'm thinking probably closer to a write-off than 10. And for those of us who think less of ourselves than 10, that's what we think. That's what you think. That's what you believe. That's what I think. It's what everyone who thinks of themselves any less than their intrinsic, already given value thinks, is that we are less than 10. And we're all horribly wrong. We are terrible at assessing our worth. We should never do it. You should definitely never give yourself a number, and no one should definitely ever ask you to put your hand in the air and show how much you're worth. That's stupid. Woo! Most of the time, we don't know our worth. It's why we need to be reminded of it over and over again. It's why Genesis 2:7 says what it says, that your soul, your life, who you are, was given to you from the creator of the universe. Life breathed into you so you could become a living soul, so you could be you, so you could share in what God loves and what he delights. And then Matthew goes and says, is there anything worth more than your soul? Not a soul, not someone's soul, not the soul that you once had before you messed it up, not your soul in the future when you get around to cleaning things up. He says now, right now, there is nothing more valuable than your soul. There is nothing more valuable to you and to him than your soul. Nothing more valuable than the peace of God that God gave to you. And nothing more valuable than the piece of you that exists, that Jesus Christ himself came to save for you. That's how much they value it, above all other things. If that is true, guess who's a 10? Go on, who's a 10? Guess who's a 10? All of you are 10s. Every single person you ever meet is already a 10. No matter what they've done or what they're going to be or how much you like them or how much you don't, they are a 10. Aside from our assessments, aside from our thoughts, I don't care about your feelings, you're a 10. You were born to be a 10. You're destined to always be a 10. And when we think any less than that, we've been lied to. Or we've been hurt. And maybe there's some lies and maybe there's some hurts that need to be healed through, worked through, talked about. Maybe you don't think you're a 10 because you're just flat out rebellious against being told that you're a 10. And that needs to get worked on. Maybe there's going to be some humility needed to accept that God has already given you the value of 10. Maybe it's going to be time for you to understand and check on your soul more regularly, invest in it more regularly when it doesn't feel like a 10, because it's supposed to be there. Maybe it's time for you to understand your soul's destiny, not just in the future, not just when you're gone, but now. What your soul is supposed to be and why you even have it. Every week at Epiphany Station, we have a next step. Something that we believe if we tangibly do it, would help us to understand what we're here to do. It would push us to either own what we're talking about or just simply dismiss it. And what we need to do this week is to value our souls so that we can learn to value ourselves, to learn to value others. And to do that, you need to care for your soul. You need to take the time to invest and understand how to care for your soul. So here's what I want you to do this week, week 1 of week 6, of 6 weeks. I want you to start to understand why you don't feel like a 10 or why you're so sure you're not a 10. Is it something that you have been told? Is it somehow a way that you've been hurt? Is it just the way that your life feels or the way that your life looks? Is it your lifestyle? Is it your life experience? And to write it down. To start to assess the state of your soul, because if you don't think it's a 10, something's wrong. And we need to work out why. So I want you to jot it down. And I don't care where you jot it down. You can put it on your program. You can put it in a journal. You can put it on Facebook if you're really bold. Because some of us in here, some of you, don't believe you have a soul. Don't believe there is a soul. Good chance it's 30% of you. So this week for you, I want you to ask that question of yourself again. Am I sure? Like, is that something that I believe, or is that something that I've just come to believe? Do I have a soul? Because the greatest minds in all of history all kind of came together and agree on this one idea that there is probably a soul. And your God seems to want to make sure that you understand and know, and your Christ seems to make sure you want to know that you have one. It's incredibly important. And if you don't believe you have a soul, ask yourself these questions. Is there potentially anything going on in your life that you don't understand that could maybe be your soul crying out for help? Is there a way that you blow up? Is there something that you do? Is it something you have no control over that's wrecking your life? It could be a sign that your soul needs some care. Some of you do know you have a soul because you're here and it feels weary. And your soul feels tired. And it's in drought and it's in pain and it's hurt. And you need to know and you need to be told and you need to believe that's not what your soul was meant for. The soul is meant to be able to find rest, and there are ways for it to find the rest that it needs. It's supposed to live a vibrant, full life. And that takes time for us to be able to work through things, to deal with things, but then to invest into the health of our soul. Some of you are here this morning, as we talk about the soul, you're thinking, it's a lot worse than weary. You need to know that every soul can be revived, every soul can be restored, every soul exists to experience love, even yours. So when we are willing to learn the value of our souls, when we're willing to learn how to feed it, how to nurture it, we can have a healthy soul that will actually give us all these things that we feel have been missing, that security that you genuinely desire, that love that you want to feel, that pleasure that you want to experience, that destiny you know that is there, and that power that you feel like you're lacking. All of these come from knowing the value of your soul and having a healthy one attached to its source, knowing what it's for and what it's given to you for. Because Jesus said nothing is worth more than your soul. So it is maybe time that we learned to start to value it. In a moment here, I'm going to bring the worship team up. They can come up now, and we're going to have an opportunity to worship, to respond. I'm also going to invite our prayer teams to come to the front of the stage, and they're going to be there during the worship song, after the worship song, after the worship experience. If you're here and you need prayer, if you need someone to be able to speak for you, to pray for your soul, I want to give you the opportunity to do that and not leave here thinking any less of yourself than God has already declared. Let's close in prayer. Father God, we thank you that it is not our place or our right to estimate our value and worth, and that you've already done that. Over and over again, you've been trying to communicate that. Help us to receive it. Help us to admit it, that nothing that we've done makes our soul less valuable. Nowhere that we're sitting today makes us less valuable in your eyes, and you want us back. You want all of us. You want us to exist with a healthy soul that's connected to what it needs to be connected to. So God, help us to get humble and to admit the things that make us feel like less than 10, to make us feel like less than you've already told us we are. God, I ask you to work on us, and in Christ's name, help us. Amen.